Patch 10.2 is nearly here, and with a new patch as always, that means new mounts. So in this video I'm going to be running through all of the new mounts and how to obtain them. We'll start by talking about questline mounts, and the first of those will be the Flourishing Whimsydrake, and this is going to be very easy to obtain. It's going to come from the campaign questline that you'll do to get into the Emerald Dream, so this is very early on, basically like the second chapter and the start of the second chapter. So once you get into the Emerald Dream, you'll have a couple of quests, and then you'll just get given the mount. This is going to be a new dragon riding mount, which means it will come with customization as well, and a lot of those are going to come from the Emerald Dream content. So if you like new drakes, you like customizing them, then this is going to be a great one for you. The next mount up is the Ochre Dreamtalon, and this one's going to be pretty easy as well, although it will take 23 days to get this finished. What you'll do is just south of the main base within the Emerald Dream, we'll find a plant, and you'll click on the plant, and then it'll go for like a cast. You'll click on it again, and once that is done, you'll now have a quest from the plant. And from here, we're basically just going to be nurturing the plant back to health. Now, this isn't going to be 23 days worth of dailies. Instead, you'll have 5 quests to do total, but there will be kind of like a cooldown on each quest. So the very first quest you'll do after you kind of click on the plant twice will be to collect a bucket and kind of water the plant. Once that quest is done, then what will happen is a bar will appear above the plant, and that is kind of like a 5-day waiting bar. And once that bar is filled, you'll get your next quest from Professor Ash, who will find it in the central encampment. So once those 5 days are up, you'll get your next quest, which is a dash of minerals, and this is to go and collect fish bones from the Fathomless Lurkers, which is near the Eye of Ysera. You'll go in the water, you'll get your 5. Once that is done, you'll head back, you'll hand it in, you'll get the 5-day timer again. Next up is going to be the right food, which is to make a fertilizer. The first one we need is the turtle egg shell, which we can find on the south of the Emerald Dream. There'll be a bunch of turtles here. It's not actually the turtles that drop it though, there'll just be some eggs that we can click on the ground, collect 3 of those. Next up, we'll need some lasher plant matter, and I went over to this spot here. It just seemed alright. It was good enough at least for me to get my 5 matter. And then once you've got that, the final item we need is bananas, which we can just head to the main base within the Emerald Dream for. Go to the innkeeper, you'll be able to buy bananas, and then you'll click on the lasher item that we were farming, and that'll combine it all together to create a fertilizer. Now we need to wait 3 days for the fertilizer to kind of combine itself and become fertilizer. I don't know how fertilizer works, but once that is ready, then we'll be able to use it on the plant, and that will be that stage done. So this will put us on to day 13. Now you'll get a 5-day wait timer again. The next quest we'll get is a pinch of magic, which is to go and kill the mobs on kind of the right side of the Emerald Dream. There'll be a bunch of mobs here. You need to use the totem, kill the mobs, fill the criteria, hand that in, and then that'll be another 5-day wait time. And then that'll bring us up to the final 23 days, where we'll get the final quest, which is A Little Hope is Never Without Worth, and we'll be awarded the mount from this. Now, you don't need to do this the second it's available. The quest will sit there waiting for you. However, the longer you delay it, the longer the overall process will be delayed. So if it's ready and you wait 2 days, now it's going to add an extra 2 days to the whole process, so it'll take you 25 days instead of 23 days. We are quickly approaching 90,000 subscribers, which is crazy. So when we hit that benchmark, I will be giving away 3 store mounts for EU or NA, any mount of your choice from that store. So do make sure you're subscribed if you're not already. Next up, we're going to talk about the mounts we can get from the Emerald Bounties system. This is going to have a bunch of mounts cram-packed into it. From the Emerald Bounty Gigantic Seeds, I'll explain more what that is in a moment, but from the Gigantic Seed, we're going to be able to get the Snow Fluff Dreamtalon, the Springtide Dreamtalon, Evening Sun Dreamtalon, Morning Flourish Dreamsaber, Blossoming Dreamstag, and the Rekindled Dreamstag. So let's talk about how this system is going to work. From doing various content within the Emerald Dream, you'll have a chance of getting these gigantic dream seeds. There's going to be a few one-time sources as well, so your very first week you should have a bunch of them. In terms of these sources, you'll be able to get 1 guaranteed from the 5 out of 5 weekly crate hand-in. So there's going to be an NPC where you'll hand in some trade materials, you'll create a kind of supplies thing to hand in, you'll get a seed from that, you'll do another one which is to give 5 crates. And from that 5 crate one, you'll get some rep and also a gigantic seed. Next up is the Super Bloom, which is the kind of zone-wide event that happens every hour. When you complete this, you'll get a weekly quest that you can pick up before you do it. And once you finish the event, you'll hand in that weekly quest, you'll get a bag. And from that bag, there'll be a chance of a gigantic seed. Also, I believe the end boss that you fight during the Super Bloom can have a chance of giving a gigantic seed. I have had a couple in the past, but I haven't had any recently, so I can't confirm if that is still the case. You'll also have a chance of getting a gigantic seed from weekly quests. There'll be a chance that the reward is a gigantic seed, and then killing the rares and the elite rares within the zone will have a chance of dropping a gigantic seed as well. Also, when you hit 20 renown, you will unlock for your account the ability to purchase gigantic dream seeds for 1.5k resources. So if you've been sat on a lot of resources, this could be a great dump to get rid of a lot of your resources. I did also talk about those one-time treasures, so I'll have a map up now showing you the 2 locations for the one-time treasures, so you can go over there and loot your 2 gigantic seeds from those. So now that you've obtained your gigantic seeds, what do you do with them? Well, throughout the zone, there's going to be these kind of like plant locations. You'll see your nearest one that's available on your map. It'll be this kind of like green seed looking thing. You'll fly over there, you'll use your gigantic seed, it'll plant the seed, and now people can contribute their seeds to your seed, and also these dewdrops, which we'll get to in more detail in a moment. Once your seed has been planted, it'll take 3 minutes to grow, which gives 3 minutes for people to contribute, and once that 3 minutes is over, you'll get a seed that you can loot. You'll loot the seed, you'll get a bag, you'll open the bag, and there'll be a chance of one of those 6 mounts from that bag. Now, if someone else has planted a gigantic seed, you can also fly over and contribute your gigantic seed to theirs, but if it's a plump seed or the green seed, I can't remember the name of it, then you won't be able to contribute your gigantic. You can only contribute to the matching seed, so if it's a plump seed, you can only contribute a plump seed. And mounts can only come from the gigantic, so the blue and the green ones aren't going to be any interest to us, unless they can give seed bloom, which once again we'll talk about in a minute. So that's how the gigantic seeds are going to work, but I mentioned something about contributing emerald dewdrops, and how that is going to work is when you plant your seed, there'll be this kind of like progression bar, and the more dewdrops and seeds that are contributed, the better the overall reward is going to be. However, this isn't going to impact the loot that you get from the gigantic seed aspect of things. That's going to remain the same. Instead, there'll be kind of an extra chunk of loot that's thrown on top of the gigantic seed loot, and that's going to be impacted by the dewdrops specifically. So when you loot the seed, you're going to have the loot from the gigantic seed in there, and then you're also going to have the additional loot from whatever the dewdrop contribution was. So the more dewdrops and seeds that are contributed, the higher chance you've got of getting better rewards. And one of those rewards that we can get from the kind of progression bar is going to be the Winter Night Dreamsaber. So ideally, every time you're contributing to a seed, you want to make sure it's fully capped out until you've got your Winter Night Dreamsaber, because that is only going to come from the contribution aspect. It's also worth noting it doesn't actually matter how much you contribute to the seed currently. If you fly down and it's 99% of the way there and you click once and do one kind of contribution of emerald dewdrops and it gets the bar to full, you'll still get your max reward from that. So keep that in mind when you contribute, and don't contribute more than you need to. I'd kind of like hold off on contributing stuff until the time is getting towards the end, and then finish it off with whatever you need. If you are short on dewdrops as well, when the plant is planted, there'll be some kind of objectives to do nearby. So there'll be some mobs that you can kill, some mobs that you can kind of like run over, and then there'll be some weeds that you can pull up, and doing those will give you some emerald dewdrops as well. There is another way of obtaining the 6 mounts from the gigantic seed as well, and that is by reaching renown 18, and then there'll be a vendor in the main camp that we can trade 1 seed bloom in for a mount of our choice. However, currently on the PTR, no one has been able to find a seed bloom. So we don't know if those are going to come from the emerald bounties, which is where the currency used to come from before it was reworked, or maybe it comes from the purple bag that you can get during the super bloom, because we haven't really been able to get many purple bags on the PTR, just not enough people around, so it could be a low chance from that. Not really too sure yet, haven't had any confirmed drops, but either way, wherever the seed bloom comes from, hopefully it's in the game, then once you get those and you hit renown 18, you'll be able to just purchase the mounts of your choice as well. So it's probably worth sitting on those until the end, where you can just purchase the ones that you're missing and then let RNG do its thing in the beginning. Next up, we're going to talk about the Dream Infusion system, and this is something you'll unlock at Renown 5, which you'll do very early on. Once you're Renown 5, you'll gain access to this Dream Energy system, where you'll collect Dream Energy, you'll fill up a bar to 7,000, and when you've got 7,000, you can go to the main camp within the Emerald Dream. There'll be an NPC there that you can talk to. They'll give you 1 Dream Infusion, and then you'll use your Dream Infusion to kind of change one of your current owned mounts into a Dream Infused version. There's going to be 6 different ones we can get. There's going to be the Sally-Trancer, the Talent, the Lugan, Mammoth, Imagiwing, and Stargazer. Now don't worry, when you transform your mount into the Dream Infused version, you won't lose the original mount, you'll just get an extra mount on top. However, you do need to obtain one of these types of mounts to be able to turn it into the Dream version. So for example, the Sally-Trancer, if you don't own the Ancient Salamantha or the Stormhide Salamantha, you won't be able to purchase Sally-Trancer. In terms of obtaining dream energy, there's going to be a few different sources, and I'll have the list up now on screen, which was created by Lazy, who's been grinding the PTR and has discovered all the different sources of dream energy and how much those are going to give. Now, one thing to keep in mind with the dream energy is, say you're 10 away from capping, so you're on 6,990, and then you do the worthy ally dream wardens that's given 1,000, you'll only get 10 from that, and 990 of that will be wasted completely. So you definitely want to make sure you're doing the thing that will just get you capped. You'll go to the main base, you'll get your dream infusion, the bar will reset, and now you'll do your kind of higher impact things again because they're not going to be wasted anymore. Another thing to note as well with this is when you hit Renown 5, it will unlock for your entire account, so all of your alts will now have access to dream energy, but they'll have their own progression bar, which is great because if you want to get this thing knocked out early, you can log onto your alt, you can go through the campaign chapters again, the side quest lines, the one-time treasures, the weekly stuff, and that is going to give you a bunch of dream energy and pretty much get that character capped very quickly. Now, I did mention you will need a version of the original mount to be able to turn it into a dream infused one. So for the Salamanthers, I'd recommend going and getting the Stormhide Salamander. For the Mag Mammoths, I'd recommend the Subterranean Mag Mammoth or the Renewed Mag Mammoth. The Shale Wings, you want to go for the Morsel Sniffer or the Shadowflame Shale Wing. For the Dreamtalons, you're going to have to either do the Ochre one that we talked about earlier, or you'll get the one from the Emerald Bounties / the Seed Bloom system if you've hit Renown 18. For the Dreamstags, you can hit Renown 16 with the Dream Wardens, and you'll be able to purchase one from the Renown vendor, which 16 sounds like a lot, but there is some cheese stuff you can do right now to make it faster. I'll talk about that later. Or once again, you could get lucky with RNG and get one from the Emerald Bounties. And then finally for the Otuks, the easiest one's probably going to be the Ivory Traders Otuk. You can do this solo or in a small group and just grind out the rings and trade them in for the Otuk. If you want more in-depth information on the Dream Infusion system, along with more info on the easiest mounts to obtain for the Dream Infusion system, check out my full guide in the description below. The next two mounts for us to talk about will be unlocked once you hit Renown 17 with the Dream Wardens, and those will be the Suntouched Dreamstag and the Lunar Dreamstag. Once you're Renown 17, you'll head over to the Quartermaster and you'll be able to pick them up for 1.2k resources. I think once you've unlocked them on your main, your alt will be able to purchase them as well without the Renown requirements, although don't quote me on that, but if they can, you can send an alt over there and use those resources if you've got some knocking around. Now, there was a cheese method we could have used to get to Renown 17 a lot faster. Unfortunately, it did get nerfed. It was kind of expected, but that cheese method was to make use of the fact that most of the rep you get is rep tokens, and you'd go to the Dream Surge event, you'd wait for the 50% reputation bonus, and you'd just pop all your tokens there and you'd get a ton of reputation. That's since been nerfed. They not only made it a lower amount of reputation than it gives, but it no longer works with the Dream Wardens at all. Now, you will be able to make use of Dark Moon Fair and also the WoW Anniversary, and we can still make use of the alt buff. So what you do is go through everything on an alt first, try and get yourself to 10 Renown, and then you'd unlock the Words of a Worthy Ally, and then you'd do it on your main, and your main would be getting that 100% reputation all the way up to Renown 10. So that's definitely going to help you out. If you're able to kind of withhold from playing your main for a little bit, then that's definitely going to be the faster way of gaining reputation. In terms of gaining reputation, a lot of the stuff in the Emerald Dream will give rep, or at least most of the campaign chapters will give 2.5k reputation. The side quest chains, once finished, will give you around 750 rep. There'll be weekly stuff that you can do that'll give 1000 reputation from the Super Bloom. There'll be these hand-ins that you can do for resources that'll give like 250 rep. There'll be the Worthy Ally quest where you'll gain 1500 rep. You'll hand that in and you'll gain an additional 500 from that. The World Quest will give a little bit of rep. There'll be one-time treasures that give 200 rep. So there's going to be quite a lot of sources for reputation. In the beginning, you're going to have a lot to do and be able to get yourself a big burst of reputation. And then from there on out, you're going to be kind of waiting for World Quests, going to be waiting for weekly quests, that kind of stuff. Next, let's talk about the raid mounts. There's going to be a few mounts we can get from the raid. The first will be from the Glory of the Murdrasil Raider, and doing all of those achievements will award you with the Shadow Dusk Dreamsaber. Next up, we'll have a couple of customization skins for your renewed Proto Drake. The first will be the Embodiment of the Blazing, and this will have a chance of dropping from Fyrakk from all of the difficulties, including LFR, so you just have a low chance of getting that skin. The next one will be from Ahead of the Curve. You'll kill Fyrakk the Blazing on Heroic or higher, and you'll get your hands on the Embodiment of Shadowflame. And then finally, if you're able to beat Fyrakk on Mythic, you'll get a drop of Anurelos Flame's Guidance, which is going to be a dragon riding bird mount. Looks great. It'll also give you access to the Druid form as well for this. and this may also be the source to be able to tame a pet that looks similar for a hunter. For M+ players this season, if you're able to hit Keystone Master, which is 2000 plus rating, you'll get your hands on the Verdant Armoredon, which is very similar to the other Armoredons, except this one is green. I'd say this is probably the weaker of the 3 Armoredons, but either way, it is still +1 for your mount collection. For PvPers on the other hand though, if you're able to get your hands on the Vicious mount for the season, which I assume will work the same as every other season for Vicious mounts, then you'll get the Vicious Moonbeast, which will have an Alliance and a Horde version. Also for those who are able to hit Gladiator, you'll get your hands on the Verdant Gladiator's Sliverdrake skin. They'll be continuing to add more mounts to the trading post as well. The first of those will be the Crimson Glimmerfur, and based on the text for this mount, we can assume it's either going to be the Traveler's Log reward for the month, or it'll be purchasable from the trading post itself. And then we're going to have 2 Scarab mounts. There'll be the Jeweled Copper Scarab and the Golden Regal Scarab. And January is Call of the Scarab, so it's safe to assume these will be available one way, shape or form from the trading post in January. And now we've got a few other things to mention too before we wrap up the video. The first is the Azure World Chiller. Even though this wasn't added in 10.2, it will become available in 10.2 with the WoW 19th anniversary, so keep an eye on that. Current mount text leads us to believe it will drop from the Doomwalker, same as the other anniversary events, and based on last year's where they made it a 100% drop chance, chances are the Azure World Chiller will be 100% as well, so you'll just have to go there, kill it, and get your mount. And then there was some mounts that were added to the PTR cycle but have been since removed, and we don't know if they're going to be available in the patch or in the future or what, but I just wanted to talk about them. So there's going to be 2 extra Scarab mounts. There'll be the Jeweled Sapphire Scarab and the Jeweled Jade Scarab. And then there was these 3 Legion bikes. There was the Fel Reaver Death Cycle, the Shadowflame Hell Bike, and the Deathbringer's Shadow Cycle. These look pretty cool. Currently not available though. And then we also had the Bakar mounts, which is the dogs. Those popped up for a little bit on the PTR, but have since been removed. I assume we are going to get these at some point during the expansion, though. I feel like it's too much of a wasted opportunity to not put these in during Dragonflight. So we'll probably see these in 0.5 or 0.7. And that is it, everything that was coming in 10.2. So hopefully you have a good idea of what to be doing in the patch now, and you can work on your mount collection even more. So hopefully this video was useful. Look out for more videos coming soon. Thanks for watching, guys. See ya.